It's My Right Stuff with your host, Grammy Award-winning record producer and inventor, Toby Wright. My Right Stuff is brought to you by Tones, a natural sleep and sound healing portal available globally at www.tones.com. That's www.taumhoms.com. And I'm your announcer, Grinnin' Barrett. Here's Toby.
Hey, and welcome back to My Right Stuff. I'm your host, Toby Wright. And as my listeners, you know that I try to provide a well-balanced and adventurous experience with my guests and all of their diverse backgrounds. I'm focusing on all things that I'm passionate and curious about because that's really what drives my heart. Anyway, today I'm blessed to have my good friend Russ O'Blenes on the podcast. And if you're not familiar with Russ, he has a very impressive track record. And you'll see what I mean by that in a minute. He's the Director of Performance and Racing Propulsion for General Motors. He's also very passionate about music and audio. And he's having built a professional recording studio on his property there in Michigan. Please give a very warm welcome to my good friend, Russ O'Blenes. Hey, Russ, how are you today?
Hey, Toby. Thanks for having me on. I'm doing awesome.
Oh, excellent, my friend. And some of the topics and adventures that I want to cover today are a mutual love of racing, and you know, some of your past history in racing and your passion for music and audio.
So, that's awesome. That's good stuff.
Yeah, it is, right? So let's get started with, you know, our passions and really, how did we meet?
Yeah, so it was interesting. You know, my wife also shares our passion, as you know, Mary. She loves both music and cars, and she was at a racetrack and met a mutual friend of yours, and then you guys were recording out in California, and you were nice enough to let her come and sit in on the recording studio session, and then as we say, the rest is history. You guys hit it off, and then I was lucky enough to meet you at one of the races that she brought us to, and then we got to know each other, and the relationship just grew from there.
Exactly, and I that was a lot of fun recording that record out there in California, and you know, because we had built a studio and we called it Blanket Studios in the middle of a huge warehouse. It was just empty, right? And so I brought all my gear and everything, and we set it all up there, and actually tracked drums up there and all that kind of stuff. And Mary was present and very excited about all of this stuff that we were doing up there. And he had a little race team, and he had a fantasy of having a band and a race team at the same time. So, but that's how we met, and I'm really grateful for having that experience. And I think that it was really amazing to me that I found someone as it's kind of inverted, right? Our passions, because you do a job of racing and mechanics and propulsion systems, and I do a job of producing music, and I'm very my passion is definitely into the racing and propulsion systems and things like that. And so it's kind of interesting to me that that we met in this lifetime. Thank you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I knew she was sending me pictures, and when I saw your main rack, and it had 4 1176s and just all this cool stuff, and I'm a huge gearhead, and I'm like, oh man, that is just so cool. And then just how you were doing it there, and to me, I love the technical side of it too. I mean, I just like the raw emotions of music, but it's also a big driver of the technical side to try to make things better. It's just like racing. I mean, it's when you're behind the wheel of your console, it's a lot like a race car driver, right? And how the output of that, and you make a great song. Or, for me, I haven't had the opportunity to do a whole lot of recording studio stuff, but as you know, I do a lot of live mixing, and
Right.
that just how good it feels when you can make something sound good and the band's happy and the fans and the listening are happy. It's really exciting.
Right, exactly. And so we'll get into the live mixing in a little bit, and about the studio you have in your property and all that stuff. But maybe we should get a little bit into a little bit of the racing side of things. Um, Maybe you can tell us what does, in all respect, what does the director of performance and racing propulsion for General Motors, what does it mean?
Well, it's really pretty amazing. I mean, I'm truly blessed. I sometimes I have to pinch myself. I guess I always had the vision of from a very small kid, my only goal was to race for Chevrolet. Back in the day, it was the Chevy race shop, and my
Right.
dad and my family supported my car habit. My dad was into cars from the very beginning, and from the time I could hold a wrench, I was wrenching on something. And back when I was
Right.
very young, at 13, I bought my first car and got it running, and he used to drive it to the racetrack so I could race it. And then,
Wow. Okay.
basically,
13.
yeah, 13 years old, my mother was going to kill me.
That's
Came
sweet.
home on a hook, no engine, transmission on a tow truck. Every penny I had, $1,300 and a turbo 400 transmission core. I traded for the car, and but
Nice.
now it's pretty amazing. One of the things that GM allowed was the ability to have an amazing breadth of racing. Like a lot of people race in a series, there's NASCAR where people have been in NASCAR their whole lives. One of the things that I've been lucky is I was always able to do a really broad range of work. My early days, I did a lot of off road racing and then did some NASCAR and drag racing, road racing, and got to travel all around the world, racing for General Motors. And then now, where I have a team of people that's responsible for doing all the propulsion systems for the factory cars, and then also all the performance parts. So, really amazing what General Motors does, their technology, and just the capabilities that If you look at how amazing the production components are, and we're able to take those production components and then harden them and make them race ready and go win races all over the world, with engines that are designed and
Right.
built in house. It's really an exciting deal.
Yeah, that's really exciting. One of my favorite races of all time is Le Mans. And, I try and stay up for the whole 24 hours, but, it's usually impossible at this age. But anyway, I think that, it's a lot of fun. So you're a factory driver then for General Motors, right?
Well, not a driver. No, I don't think they'd let me behind the wheel. We just do the engines. We do the engines for the factory cars. So the Corvettes that go to Le Mans, our team designs and
Right.
assembles those engines. I've
Oh,
been
that's
there
great.
multiple times. Been able to go to Le Mans last year. Unfortunately, we didn't go, but here they just recently changed the date. We'll be going over there in August this year. So we're really looking forward to getting back there. I
Oh,
mean, an
great.
incredible challenge over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'm a huge Le Mans fan, and it'd be great if yeah, August would be great. Yeah. I only wish I could go, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I know.
but yeah, so getting into do you cover Indy and NASCAR and the IMSA and all of the off road racing as well?
Yeah, so we, it's interesting. We basically touch every department.
Okay.
All of the places where GM races factory, we touch it in some way. It just depends on how much involvement. If you look at the Corvette program, right, that's a complete system. We design them, make the parts, assemble them, do track support, the whole deal for Corvette. On some of the other
Okay.
programs, it's more of a support role with NASCAR. We're responsible for a lot of the components, blocks, heads, intake manifolds. We do a significant amount of testing for them, but we don't actually build the engines. Our partners at Hendrick Motorsports and ECR, Richard Childress Racing, build the engines.
That's really awesome. I love the supporting roles, and I know that when I've been to NASCAR races and a couple of Indy races that I've been to, it's an amazing thrill to be a fan and be there. And it's such an honor to talk to somebody who builds the racing motors, and God, it's amazing. So you also General Motors has electric concept vehicles. Is that correct?
Yeah, so one of the things that's been really exciting, if you look at GM's future, we're driving towards all electric future down the road. So what
Wow.
our team wanted to do was really dive in and lead the charge on what performance electrification would look like for hot rods and performance vehicles and even racing. So, a couple of years ago, we put together our eCopo, which we basically developed a package that you could take the internal combustion engine right out of the car and then plug an electric motor. We designed it so it would bolt right up to the transmission in the car, and then the
Oh, sweet.
batteries were modular, so you could put them throughout the car and then actually go race it on all electric.
Wow.
So
Okay. And then, so what
yeah,
would be involved in a pit stop, for
a
instance?
pit stop is with drag racing. That's why electric is a great opportunity for drag racing, right? Because it's a fairly short run with a high
Right.
burst of energy, and then you go back to the pits and re-prep the car. So then we would plug the charger back in and charge the battery back up. That car would
Sure.
make
Sure.
about 6 or 8 passes on a single charge. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I mean, you could get through, typically you don't run more than that in a day with the drag racing. So, in between rounds, you'd still top it off. But if you had to, it could go more rounds and you could, make it through the day without charging. So, really an interesting opportunity. And then now we've been working on our performance crates for the street cars. So we built both a 62 Chevy pickup and then a 77 K5 Blazer with more production-based components out of our Chevy Bolt. And we're
Oh,
looking
wow.
to
Okay.
offering that stuff up later this year as a performance crate for people that have performance trucks that they want to convert over to electric. So we're pretty excited about that.
That's pretty exciting, actually. And because then you can just dump your old gasoline engine and throw some of these performance parts in there and you'd be ready to go electric? Is it
Yeah, I
kind of
mean,
that
if
easy
you
or no?
Well, it's all. I mean, nothing is that simple. But realistically, the way we've designed it, the same thing. We take the bolt motor, and then we have an adapter plate that bolts on the back of it to allow it to literally bolt up to your transmission. There's obviously more fabrication than say you were taking an old carbureted small block and put in an LT4 or one of our other connected cruise packages. Those are a little more bolt on. These you would have to weld some brackets in and things like that, but fundamentally, everything more or less bolts up. If you look, basically the bolt battery pack, we put in the bed of the pickup truck, or in the K5, we actually put it behind the seat and basically made some brackets so it could bolt to the frame. So I would say it's medium type fab. It's not full on, over the top fabrication. We're going to be partnering with we're calling them ESVMs, electric certified vehicle modifiers that we will certify, and those will be the ones where you'll buy the kit and then bring your vehicle to them, and then they'll actually install the kit for you. So they'll be able to do the heavy lifting, which is, we
Oh,
feel, a
wow.
good way for safety and to make sure that the vehicles get upfit properly. And, then when the cars get into the customer's hands, they have something that's really impressive and safe.
Right. Yeah, I guess, safety is very important out there because, there's too many people with their own ideas of how fast they need to go on the highways and things.
Exactly.
But
So.
but you're talking about that truck, and I was reading about that truck, and it must be really quiet, right? Because you guys have built in some ground sound effects. Is that true?
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. Again, I often try to meld my passions of automotive and audio, and when we talked about doing the E10 for the street, I said, oh, we need to do an audio system. So we partnered up
Right.
with a company that had been playing around with that, and we actually brought a couple of our performance vehicles into an anechoic chamber with a chassis dyno, and we actually recorded the sounds of the main one we did was a Z28 Camaro, a 427 LS7 powered Z28, and
Oh
we
wow. Okay.
recorded the sounds, and then they were able to actually bring the sounds into a computer and then use the motor speed and the throttle position to actually make a consistent sound that the engine would make.
Oh,
So
that's
when you
awesome.
drive when you drive the truck, it has two muffler looking things in the back that are actually speakers, and then there's a third one under the hood that actually emulates the induction sound. So we had a mic under the hood too. So when you
Oh,
step
that's
on
cool.
the accelerator pedal, you hear the throttle open. So it's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I like that. I'm gonna have to get me one of those and put my own sound effects in there.
Exactly. Yeah, we did a Jetsons mode where we made it sound like the Spacely Sprockets deal. What was the most impressive when I knew that it was the real deal was at SEMA the morning before we released the car. We had to do kind of a pre-run, so we didn't want anyone to know what it was. So we taped over the badges, and one of my guys and I were sitting in the car, and we just left it idling with the sound on. And he's
Okay.
like, "Oh, that's cool." I'm like, "Thanks." And I revved it up in neutral a couple times, and nobody even knew that it wasn't electric till that night because it sounded just like it was a V8. So it was a great way to disguise it too before we did the big release. So it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. That is very cool. And
Yeah,
so that was at SEMA, right? There was a big release.
yeah, that was at
Right.
SEMA in 2019.
Oh, nice. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And so was everybody pretty impressed with what they had missed actually?
Yeah, no, that a couple of the people that were there in the morning after the release, we did like a little press conference, and they came over and they're like, "I never would have known. I turn it on again." And we turned it on, and they were all thinking it was pretty cool. It was if you look, down the road, that'll be something that I think will be more prevalent, different sounds and things, apps, and you look at all the computer stuff that's out there. Um, lots of people are working on that space.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that just sounds very exciting to me because I know that, electric just a thrust that the electric motors can kick in is very exciting and provides what's the actual number, like how many more times than a gas powered engine in torque.
Well, I think the thing that's the most incredible about the electric motor compared to the engine, I got a lot of, I guess flack is a good word. I'll be nice. When we brought the eCopo to SEMA, a lot of engine guys were coming and surely giving us a hard time, let's say, about doing it. And, and I am absolutely an engine guy. I mean, I'll have big block Chevys in my garage till Mary has to sell them all when I'm in a box. But the interesting thing is our whole lives as engine builders, we try to get, a perfectly flat torque curve and get horsepower to carry without valve train issues and whatever. And that's what
Right.
I would tell the engine guys. I'm like, "Hey, I've been dynoing engines for almost 40 years, and I've never ever seen one that makes peak torque at 0 RPM with a perfectly flat torque curve and then transitions to a perfectly flat horsepower curve. And
That's
so,
crazy.
yeah, no, I mean, that's just how a motor works. And then, when you think
Right.
about it, right, most electric motors are designed to sit on the roof of a building running an air conditioning unit 24/7 for 30 years. So that you can make them extremely reliable, right? There's no rings to wear out. There's no, camshafts to wear out. I mean, when you look at how reliable the components can be and, what they really bring, it's pretty amazing.
So are there recharging type systems in these vehicles? Because I know that a
Yeah.
couple of
So
electric vehicles that are out there have some of that stuff. Like when you step on the brake, for instance, it kind of throws a little charge back to the battery. And, is that correct?
yeah, so they call it regenerative braking. So basically, the
Okay.
motor works either as a motor or a generator. So what we've done in our packages is we turn on what we call engine braking. Like a lot of times in an automatic, when you lift off the throttle, the engine just comes down to idle and the car coasts. We've
Right.
actually set the transmissions up so when you lift, it all stays connected. So then the motor turns into a generator, and then instead of having to use the brakes to slow down, you actually use the motor that puts a negative torque on the drive line to slow the car down. And then when you do that, that energy is actually getting converted back into electricity that goes back into the battery.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
That's
our Chevy Bolt, that has, they call it one pedal driving, where they do so much
okay.
regen that you actually never have to use the brake. You can come all the way to the stop. If you let your foot completely off the accelerator pedal, it'll actually stop the vehicle. And then when you go, I mean, the
Wow.
key is to try to recoup as much energy as possible back into the battery, right, from an efficiency, because every time you
Right.
step on the brakes, that energy is getting made into heat instead of back into battery electric energy. So,
Right. Okay. Well, that's just wild, man. I love how all that
yeah,
stuff works and the brains to figure all that out just blows my mind right there.
we got a
And
lot of
it's
smart
fun.
people. I am like I tell people, I'm definitely not the smartest guy in the room. General Motors has so many smart people that have helped us out, and I always tell them we just need to phone a friend. If we've got great support from our technical experts, and GM's leading the way, and where we're using all production components, we're able to lean on the
Right.
experts, and then we concentrate on the integration stuff.
That's pretty awesome, dude. Congratulations, by the way.
It's fun stuff. I never in a million years, it's like I said, it's pretty funny how things turn around, but it's really great for the team. It's been allowing our team to really grow in that space. We've concentrated on engines, and now with electrification. And as you know, there's a significant amount of electrification coming forward. If you look at IndyCar and a lot of the other
Right.
series, they're starting to come into electrification. Extreme E off-road program, which we have our Hummer EV competing in. So more and more racing sanctioning bodies are starting to come to electrification. So this
That's
E-Crate has
awesome.
really helped us get a head start.
Right. So are you involved in the Formula E racing at all or any of the Formula series?
General Motors has not got involved in Formula E. We decided on the Extreme E, which is another series
Okay.
with, in that same, the Formula E people, it's all under the same company. And the off road racing with our Hummer was a really good fit.
Oh, you have an electric Hummer. Sweet.
Correct. So our,
I, I'd love to see that. Wow.
yeah, no,
When does
that's,
that debut?
um, I should know. Ken, if we'll have to have Ken Morris on, he'll know the exact date as he's very much involved. But
Okay.
there's been a number of announcements lately. I know that they're taking orders, and that's
Great.
coming up here pretty quick. So,
All right. Well, I'm going to have to put my name on the list.
oh, yeah, there you go. Shoot the lock off your wallet.
Yeah, I'll have to get one of those first.
Oh, get the wallet, then you can shoot it off, right?
Exactly.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm just so interested in that and the electric racing. And, you had sent me a little video of you with the Herzog racing team
Yeah.
earlier today. And that was that the first Baja 1000? Or was
No,
that,
no, that was in 1999. Baja started in, I think the first one was actually in 69, the year I was born.
oh,
That
okay.
was actually 99. But Yeah, it was pretty cool back in the 90s. I did most of the off-road stuff, and I was a riding navigator in the trophy
Nice.
trucks, which were the top classes down at Baja. And in '99, we won overall. That video was showing us win overall, and me and Larry on the roof of the truck at the finish line after, I don't know, 12, 14 hours in the truck. So it was pretty cool.
Right. That was very impressive. I was like, all right, go Russ, go.
Yeah. No, that I mean,
So,
when you look again, the opportunities. I got to do the Paris Dakar rally too. The last year that we actually
ooh,
raced in Africa, I got to run that event. It started in Portugal, and then you race through Portugal and Spain, and go across the Straits of Gibraltar, and then go through Morocco, down through Mauritania and Mali, and end up in Senegal. That was
wow,
a
okay.
pretty amazing race too. Yeah.
I can only imagine. I've never been to that part of the world, but it sounds kind of rough, and
Yeah,
like
I've been
kind
there,
of
got
like
the
I was.
T-shirt. I'm good. Well, I
One
think that's
time
a
is
once and
enough.
done for me. Huh?
There you go.
Yeah, yeah, that's my joke about that trip. Been there, got the
Right.
T-shirt. I'm good.
There you go. Wow.
Yeah, it
So
was
yeah,
pretty
I mean,
scary. The second year we were going back again, and I don't know. So in Dakar, they have these big. They call them the man trucks. They actually race the support trucks in the
oh
thing.
wow,
They're
okay.
like big semi trucks, and I was actually going to co-ride in one of those in 2008, but they ended up canceling the event because the terrorists said they were going to kill all the Americans and all the French that came to Africa. So I'm like,
Whoa.
I'm good. I'm out.
Uh, yeah, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, they had canceled. Luckily, they canceled it because that would have been a very difficult decision for me to. Okay, I get to ride in the race truck, but take a risk at dying, or go home. What do you do?
Go home.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
was
I don't.
younger and dumber. So I don't know. If I got to
Right.
race, I probably would have gone for it. But anyways, good stuff.
Yeah, but then you'd have a really fast truck, and you can get away from the terrorists.
Yeah, exactly.
In theory.
In theory, right? Until you wreck, and then you're
In
done.
theory.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So, wow, we should probably cover a little bit of our other passion, which is music and audio, right?
Yeah,
How
man.
did you get into that?
So interesting story. So as a kid, my dad had multiple jobs, and one of them was back. We grew up in Boston, and there was a store called Tech Hi-Fi, and
Okay.
my father was employee number 7 at Tech Hi-Fi. When he got back from Vietnam War, he was working at GE, and he started hanging around the stereo store. And finally, he hung around enough that they finally said, "Why don't you just work here?" So growing up, all we ever did, we never had a TV. We just always listened to music. So when
Okay.
Friday nights we'd have tunes cranked, and you know. Anyways, he pulled out the first Black Sabbath album, and we used to have this Barzilay stereo cabinet, and he would always put whatever record was on. You'd like have it sitting there, and you could see it, and it was all dark. And I don't know, I'm sure you know that Black Sabbath's the first song. You turn it way up, and then the thunder would crack, and it would start going, and that one, and then we'd always listen to Woodstock and Santana, Soul Sacrifice, just the great dynamics. And I think that's really where I got my passion for dynamic music and stuff that just sounds good and is tight and punchy.
I just love that sound too. You know,
Yeah.
that to me, and growing up in the music industry myself, I just love all that really tight and punchy stuff. But then
Yeah.
again, I'm a metalhead too, and I don't know. My passion with music is all over the place when it comes to genre.
Yeah.
My partner Brian and I have this saying that there's only two kinds of music, and that's good and bad. And so those are
It's
the
not
only
that
two
hard,
genres.
right?
No, no, exactly. And so, but those are opinions too, right? So, you can't like say, oh, Mozart, he's rock and roll, or put him in a category or something. You just have to,
Yeah.
the good and the bad is subjective and it's an opinion of what you like. But, I love personally, the same kind of stuff that you do to listen to because of its cleanliness, its punchiness, and its dynamics, right? That happen. And it's so sweet when you get all of that in one. And I remember coming to your studio last winter and just listening to some of that stuff as we tuned in the monitors, and man, it just like brought all of that back, and
Yeah.
it's great, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that your involvement in a lot of that stuff, especially there in Michigan with some of our mutual friends. It was imperative, and I do want to thank you very much for all of your help. With Frame 42,
Yeah. Yeah.
who, yeah, my previous podcast was Frame 42, and they were all very very happy with the EP that I did with them, and consequently, your work helped with that as well because we recorded that over the holidays at the Temper Mill, just outside of Detroit, and I got to tell you, Russ, it would not have been possible without you because
I don't know
it
about
just would have
that.
been a
You guys are.
complete. It
I'm
would have been a
sorry.
complete nightmare, though. I
No,
know
I
that.
just. It was just so fun to help. I mean, those kids are great. Not kids. I mean, young adults. I mean, just amazing what they were able to do, and then some direction that you were able to, help steer them a little bit, and really just pull the band together. And you listen to the songs that are starting to roll out of that, and totally amazing. I don't know if I got a text last night from the father of a couple of the band members, and he said he was driving down the street, and WRIF, which is our big rock and roll station in Detroit, had Bittersweet on, and just
Oh yes,
unbelievable, to have Bittersweet on WRIF. It's like they've made it.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, they need to be played about 2 or 3 million more times, and
Yeah,
then they will
yeah.
have made
Well,
it.
one step at a time, brother. Yeah,
Exactly, just one step at a time. That's all we need.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully I'll be back and make another EP with them or a full record soon.
Wow.
Maybe next year. But
Yeah, we'd love it.
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the interesting contrast. I mean, what really got me into the pro audio stuff was, when I came off the road from racing, like when you're, through my early career at the track, I was a decision maker, right? Whether it was putting setups in the car, doing calibration, those sort of things. So you really had to be able to, something would change or a car would come in, you had to make quick decisions and move on. And then as I joke that I got my management lobotomy, and because as I started to transition more to a people leader from a technical, a hands-on person, I really felt I needed something that would keep me on my toes. And I was lucky enough to meet, someone who's turned out to be one of my best friends ever, Jeff Keel, who is an amazing pro audio guy. I mean, he toured the country with with the OJs and Dionne Warwick, did front of house and monitors for those guys for many years, did lots of installations, and he kind of took me under his wing, and then we became partners in this pro sound company, and it was just so fun to learn from him and then get out there and start mixing shows. And just there's a lot of pressure with live sound, especially
Right.
in the regional stuff where we're doing both monitors and front of house from the same board, so you're trying to keep the band happy with their monitors. And when I
Right.
first started, it was all analog, so you didn't have somebody up there with an iPad,
Right.
fixing the stage monitor, or those guys with their phones, putting more of me in the monitor. It was all on you. So
Right, exactly. And it's funny that, because I've done a lot of live mixing myself, and I really I love it. But one of the things that's obvious to you and I, is obvious to you and I, is the fact that in live it just goes by once, right? And you know when you're listening to a recording, you can back up, listen to that passage 25, 30, a million times if you want to, right? And so things have to be a little bit better and tucked in and perfect in a recording. Whereas, when you're doing some live sound, sometimes you can get away with, little things, and, little vocalists can be a little bit off key here and there. And, I'm sure as long as they hit the melody, semi correctly, that they can, the audience is pleased with their performance. And we've seen, you and I have both seen, a lot of different artists who've, who have tracks playing in the background, and all of a sudden they stop or get out of sync or something like that, and it's a little embarrassing to those artists, I know. But so what's one of the biggest venues you've ever done live sound in?
oh, that my dream is when Frame 42 goes somewhere big, I'm going to get to do a big show. I've only been able to do
Absolutely,
regional stuff, huh?
absolutely, yeah. I think you
Yeah,
should.
I hope so. But mainly we've mainly done. I've done a few casinos. Mainly
Okay,
our company does a lot of the cities around Detroit have summer concert series. So we have
right.
like 6 towns that every week we do concerts. We hire the bands, we bring our gear in, and we mix. And our big one is Plymouth, and we typically have 3 to 5 thousand people there. So I mean, it's a pretty
That's
reasonable
pretty good.
turnout for a free concert. Yeah, I've never done anything crazy big, and I do a lot at church. This weekend was Easter, and that was really big. We had probably almost 2,000 people there yesterday for Easter. So
Oh wow.
even our church services are pretty big, and you surely want to do well for those. So I
Yeah,
definitely have
absolutely.
a keep it simple approach to live sound. A lot of people, my opinion is if you use good equipment, the microphone placement is good, and you have good musicians, less is more most of the time with live
Right.
sound, in my opinion. Uh, you know,
Yeah, I think we both have that same opinion in for music in general, and
yeah,
how things get processed, and how sound goes from the source to the speaker, right, and how you hear it
yeah,
as a human. And we've had those long discussions too, right? um,
yeah,
so yeah, I mean, you saw how I recorded the Frame 42 stuff, and you know and you've heard the mixes since then. And so it's pretty much, you know, it's very, very simplistic. And I don't like to use a lot of stuff that can mess up my original source sound, because
yeah.
I know that I work very hard to get that sound right. And
Oh
then
yeah,
when you're doing live sound, it's crazy, because you can you're at the mercy of whatever the player gives you off of the
yeah,
stage, right? And so
yeah.
you
You
got
can
to just
only
blend
turn
and
the
make the best
talent
of
knob
that.
up so much. I'm sorry, it's pegged, and
No,
you
that's
just can't
true.
get there. Yeah.
You got to turn the suck knob down and the talent
Yeah,
knob up.
yeah, maybe that's my problem. I'm only turning the talent knob up. I got to get on the suck knob and turn that down too. Yeah, but
Exactly, exactly.
well, I joke all the time. So many singers come in and they want like a special microphone or whatever. I'm like, here's the deal. If a SM58 is good enough for Tina Turner and Elton John and Eric Clapton and Etta James and it's
Right.
probably okay for you. I'm just thinking. you
And
know
most likely it is. Yeah,
It
exactly.
probably is.
But
I'm saying for live sound, they're pretty hard to beat.
yeah, it's always fun. I've done a lot of live mixing, like, at festivals and concerts outdoors, and, and things. And it just, I don't see anybody but the stage. You know what I mean? And a
Absolutely.
lot of people
Yeah.
get really nervous because there's all these people around them and, all these opinions going. And, they're really there. The audience is really there to enjoy the show, right? And
Yeah.
unless, you have a constant feedback loop going or, you can't hear the vocals or something like that, then, most people are going to really enjoy that show, And so it's, I think it's really important to just concentrate on what the focus of the audience is at the particular time of the song, right? So, when I'm mixing in big venues or little venues for that matter, I want to hear what the singers are singing about. I want to hear a good backbeat. I want to hear some bottom end. I just want to hear a good blend of everything going on, and I think that's really important to the live audience. And you've done a good job with that with the couple of shows that I've seen that that you mixed, which was awesome to me. And I think you were a little nervous because I was hanging around, but but it's all good because I'm all about constructive criticism, right?
No,
And
no. Hey, you know
it's
what? Like I
about
say,
learning.
it's all over, and whether it's in audio or with my stuff at work. I mean, this whole electric thing. I tell my young engineers, I'm like, be a sponge. You
Right.
around great people, and the only thing that makes us what we are is what we get from others. And the Lord, He gave us our main toolbox, and then He brings people around you. I mean,
That's
just
right.
that time that I spent with you, doing the Frame 42 album, just some of the light bulbs that go on, because a good friend of mine always said, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice of perfection makes perfect. Because you can do it wrong
Right.
your whole life, and you're still going to do it wrong in the end. You
That's
gotta you
right.
gotta
That's
figure out
right.
how to do it right, and then practice it.
Exactly. Exactly. Because then you can practice perfection and perfect perfection.
Yeah,
And that
exactly.
that to me is what it's all about. I've been making records since I was like 17, 18 years old. Um, and to see how other guys do it and then they sell a million records and okay, so that must be a way to do it, right? And that's one way, and then you go into a room with another producer and band and he does it a completely different way, but the outcome is pretty much the same. He gets a powerful record, they sell lots of music. Why? Probably because the songs are really good, right? And that's one of the most important things I think in picking a band, and to record and their record and all that kind of stuff. And it's that you can only like the great music will always sell songs. I think because I've never heard
Yeah,
anybody that buys a record except for you and me for the sound of the record. Right, the general public doesn't really do that, right?
right,
If
right,
they don't like the song, they don't buy it, or they don't like the artist, they don't
right.
buy it. So
Yeah,
I try and make great sounding records with great artists, right? And I think Frame 42 is definitely on their way to be one of those artists, and that's why I picked them, to come and hang out with and to make their songs a little bit better if I could, and then again make a recording that was as clean and cool as that one is. And it's a different kind of a band too, right? They're two female lead singers, which has its own inherent little difficulties in capturing, and then you got the boys behind them just laying down some really powerful jams. So I think some of that, and you're gonna have fun with that on the road. um, it's all about getting those great songs, right? And trying to get the best out of the band, and you should have fun when Frame 42 starts going out on the road and you're able to join them. I think it'll be a lot of fun for you to try and get all that together in some of those venues that they're going to be playing.
yeah. No, I mean, they just have they're so tight together, and musically they're right on, and when the girls are on, it's incredible. And the thing is, the energy that they create. I mean, when you watch the crowd, I mean, the crowd just is so into them, and the songs are catchy, and especially when they do live, when they mix up both their originals with some covers that everybody loves that they do really well. It
Right.
really gets the crowd fully engaged. And that's really what music is all about.
Absolutely. And that's what, and I think after the COVID goes away, and if that's possible, then it's going to be. I think the market's going to get flooded with a lot of live music because people have been so thirsty for it and hungry. And, I think that those, it's going to be like one after the other, boom, boom, boom. And I think that bands will have a great opportunity to get out there and tour for a little while, back to back to back, right?
Yeah.
As soon as it becomes safe, right? We
Yeah.
always want to
No,
be
and
safe.
I think hopefully we're on that direction and things are coming around, right?
I certainly hope so. And, because I'd love to see a live show again. That's for sure. I love live music, and being
I
here in
know.
the studio, it's beautiful and everything. And but it doesn't. There's nothing like a live show, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
uh,
The
I just
last,
I just love all that stuff.
yeah, no, us too. Mary and I we went for a little ride this past week, and the last show we saw was not this Christmas, but last Christmas we went and saw the Family Stone with Tower of Power. You talk about dynamics. No
Wow.
Sly, but the rest of the Family Stone, and then Tower of Power, and it was just like that's what to me that's like the epitome of live music, you know.
Oh, absolutely. That would have been an amazing show to see.
It
Wow.
was, yeah. Yeah,
Golly.
yeah.
Let's see some.
We have
That's
a
some of
pretty
my.
good venue here at Motor City Casino. They have a really
Okay.
good install. Actually, have more PA than the room needs, which is such a rarity. So it actually
Right.
plays loud and clean, and it's a really good room. We see a
Yeah,
lot
you
of
got to
shows
love
there.
that, right?
Yeah, heaven forbid, you know.
I ah.
You
It
can
just
only not have enough PA. People like when I unload often, they're like, "Oh my God, why do you need so much?" I'm like, "Trust me, you'll
right.
be happy that you have it." You know, it always sounds better with more, more proper PA, anyways. You know.
Absolutely, and that's the same here in the studio. You want to always overamp, and have
Yep.
too much power available for what you're going to be listening to, which speakers or whatever, because then that cuts down your distortion, and you don't hear as much amp distortion as you might when you want to crank it up really nice and loud, right? So, and the
Yep.
same definitely holds true for for live stuff because there you need to be really loud and really clear. You
Oh
start getting
yeah.
into distortion with some of that stuff, and it just the crowd becomes very disinterested. You know,
Oh yeah.
so
Well, ACDC, I still say we went and saw ACDC on the Black Ice tour. They had 162 X-ray boxes per hang, and
wow,
it was just unbelievable. I mean, crystal clear, crazy loud. It's like, it's just when you get that many boxes together, it starts to sound like one because they all end up coupling, and it was
that's
really
right.
good. And it's like just because people come in with a line array and, not enough boxes, and it's just, ugh,
It's crazy, right?
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, some people think that they can, have some kind of concert or something with those little things on a stick, like they look like lollipops to me.
Yeah.
And they're self-powered and they have like 10 watts aside, and and they have the band behind them, and they think that's going to be able to cover their vocals or whatever. But you know all we can do is educate, right, and bring in some stuff that's going to sound good, and just kind of set it up and go. And
Yeah.
just you can see the look on the audience's face as the show is going on and progressing, and everybody's real
Yeah.
happy, and they're tapping their feet and they're dancing, and they're experiencing the band, and not so much thinking about the PA, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's really distorted and I can't hear the vocals, and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
it's really awesome, Russ. I really, I'm very thankful to have you as a friend. You've really educated me about the General Motors electric program. I think I will invite Ken on my right stuff to have a little chat about some of that kind of stuff if we can. I don't know if we can, but you know,
Yeah.
I'll invite anyway.
There you go.
And so I think I'd like to, get you in your studio, and we can run through and make some music together, and because next time I'm out there, I'd really like to record in your room. And
Yeah,
I
it's
know you
coming
have,
along. I've been doing some drum recording and just kind of onesie twosie stuff to get everything good. It's starting to come together. It's the room sounded pretty decent. Got some good stuff going up there. I got a band coming in a couple weeks. Going to be my first band that I do in there, so I'm really excited.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, if I can help you in any way, I'm always here for you.
Phone a
Even
friend.
though I'm way out here. And phone a friend. Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, hey, I can't thank you enough for the fellowship and the friendship, and like I said, good old Mary. Mary brought a lot of us together on this gig, and I'm truly blessed to have her, and all of us that
Absolutely.
just have this opportunity to do the stuff we love and have great fellowship too.
That's the most important thing to me, and
Amen,
I
brother.
love the spirit with other like humans. It's wonderful to me. But
For sure.
in closing, I want to thank my guest Russ O'Blenes for all his awesome insight into the world of automotive technologies and audio, and thanks, Russ. It's been a real pleasure. I also want to thank my sponsor, Tomes, a natural sleep and sound healing portal located on the web at www.tomes.com. That's www.taumhoms.com. And thank you again for watching, and tune in again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for watching My Right Stuff. This episode was brought to you by Tones, a natural sleep and sound healing portal available globally at www.tomes.com. That's www.taumhoms.com.